Day by day, our magistrates' courts hear thousands of cases. In the name of the Queen, we meet together to seek justice.
Excuse me, Your Worships. Case number 12, Angela Bennett. Unfortunately, the witness hasn't arrived yet. She is on her way. It appears she went to the wrong juvenile court. Case number 9, Your Worships.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Douglas.
Thank you, Your Worships. Right, will you come this way, please? Boys, will you stand in the front, and parents, will you sit behind your child, please?
I think we need more chairs, Mr. Douglas.
Oh, sorry, Your Worship.
Here, you'll be on my boy.
Pardon me?
Will you sit down, please? This is case number 9, Your Worships. David Galloway, Sunday Newland, Herbert Silk. Parents present.
Are you sure you're behind your own boy?
No, I'm not, miss. I've just told her.
Will you change round, please?
I told her I'm sorry.
Boys, stand up.
Thank you.
What's your name, please?
David Galloway.
And how old are you, David?
15.
When will you be 16?
August 12th.
Thank you. Name, please.
Sunday Newland.
How old are you, Sunday?
14.
When will you be 15?
September.
Okay. Name.
Herbert Francis Silk.
Okay. And how old are you, Herbert?
15.
And when will you be 16?
Don't know.
You don't know when your birthday is? Mrs. Silk, when is Herbert's birthday?
Oh, I don't know, miss. I can't remember them all.
I know, miss. April the 3rd.
Oh, thank you. Are you Herbert's father?
No, miss, I'm his grandfather.
Grandfather, I see.
Well, boys, you know why you're here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
David Galloway. It says here that on March the 17th at Brenton Park Football Club, you had with you, without lawful authority or without reasonable excuse, an offensive weapon, namely a broken walking stick. Do you plead guilty or not guilty to that charge?
Not guilty.
Secondly, that on the 17th of March at Brenton Park Football Club, you assaulted Ronald Brimey, causing him actual bodily harm. Do you plead guilty or not guilty to that charge?
Not guilty.
Sunday Newland. It says here that on the 17th of March at Brenton Park Football Club, you also assaulted Ronald Brimey, causing him actual bodily harm. Do you plead guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Guilty.
Are you sure?
He was at the football match. He was there, ma'am.
That's as maybe, Mr. Sandy, but...
Newland.
Mr. Newland, but it's best if he makes up his own mind. Are you sure you want to plead guilty, Sunday?
Not guilty, miss.
Yes, I think we'd better change that, please, Mr. Burrows.
Herbert Francis Silk. It says here that on March the 17th at Brenton Park Football Club, you had with you, without lawful authority or without reasonable excuse, an offensive weapon, that is, a walking stick. Do you understand the charge?
Yes, sir.
And do you plead guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Are there two walking sticks in this case?
May it please your worship, it's the same stick, which, as you shall see, became broken in two.
Oh, I see.
Yes, that is the situation.
Yes. Continue.
Secondly, that on the 17th of March at Brenton Park Football Club, you assaulted Ronald Brimey, occasioning him actual bodily harm. Do you plead guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty, sir.
Do you understand the charge?
Yes, miss.
Thirdly, it's also stated that on the same day and at the same place, you willfully obstructed Alan Pugh, a constable, in the execution of his duty.
I never. It was him. Get lost.
That's enough. Do you plead guilty to the charge or not?
Not guilty, miss.
Not guilty.
Right, you can sit down, boys. If you please, your worships, I represent David Galloway. I understand the other boys are not represented.
That's not true, man. No, I'm defending her.
Oh, you're going to help Herbert, are you, Mr. Silk?
Yes.
I see. What about you, Sunday?
He don't have no one, ma'am.
Have you applied for legal aid? You can fill in a formula and we can adjourn Sundays.
No, ma'am. We have been waiting for weeks to come to court. We want it finished now, ma'am. I'm losing money by being here. My job cannot keep letting me off all the time.
I see. Very well, thank you. Who's in charge of this case?
I am, your worships.
Will you proceed, please?
I call my first witness Ronald Brimey.
I wonder why it's taken so
Oh,
long for
brother.
this case to
Yes,
come
I'd
to
like
court?
to know.
I mean, it happened in March.
Probably a mix-up at the juvenile bureau.
Well, there shouldn't be a mix-up because it's grossly unfair for these people. Dragging...
For Almighty God to tell the court the truth, the whole truth.
Very bad indeed.
And what is your name?
Ronald Brymer, age 17.
Where do you live?
17, Milton Road, Burton Hill.
And what is your job?
I'm a laundry van boy.
Could you speak up, please?
Yes, sorry, sir.
Now, were you present at Brenton Park Football Club on the 17th of March?
Yes, sir.
And will you tell the court what happened?
Yeah. Well, it was in the first half of the match, and this bloke turned around in front of me, because I was standing behind him, like, and he says, "Oi, you, give me programme back." Well, I didn't know what he was on about. And then he goes and hits me over there with his stick. Well, I tried to defend myself, but his two mates joined in. One of them kicking, the other one waving the broken part of the stick about, which broke over my head.
Now, can you identify the person who hit you?
Yeah, it was him.
You mean Herbert Silk?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you see his mates in court?
Yeah, it's them two there.
He were kicking and all, miss.
No interruption.
Well, just saying the fuzz. The police rather arrived and broke it up and took these three away. And I had to go to the hospital.
Were you badly injured, Mr. Brammy?
Yeah, well, I had to have 4 stitches. And I had to have Monday and Tuesday off work.
I see.
Now, can you say which boy was doing the kicking and which one was using the broken part of the stick?
Yeah, that one. David, is it? Well, he was using a broken end, and that one was doing all the booting. Kicking, miss.
And what happened after the police arrived?
Well, they all started moving and shoving about, like, you know.
That's all, Your Worship.
Mr. Barrington Smith?
Mr. Bramey, where were you standing when the alleged assault took place?
On the terracing at the Park Road end, why?
I'm asking you questions. And you were standing behind the boys?
Yes, sir.
How could you be standing behind 3 boys at once?
I suggest that be regarded as an existentialist question.
Well, I couldn't. I was just standing behind them, like. Well, like if I stood behind those 3 people there.
So how could you see their faces?
Well, when they turned round.
All 3 of them turned round, did they?
Yes, sir.
I see. When you were asked if you could see Herbert Silk's mates, you hesitated. Are you sure it was David Galloway you saw?
Yeah, well, sure, I'm sure. He was doing all the leaping about with a broken head.
How can you be sure it was David on that terracing? That packed terracing, thousands of people.
Packed terracings? You've got to be joking. They haven't had a full house down there for years, mate.
Silk hit you with a stick. How
Please
else?
refer to the boys by their first names, Mr. Barrington Smith.
I'm sorry, Your Worship. Herbert hit you with a stick. How else were you assaulted?
Well, when the end broke off, it flew in the air, and that long-haired one there grabbed it and started, like, well, you know, on guard sort of thing, and he started
Did
to
he
jab me with it.
actually touch you with a stick?
Well, I just said he jabbed me with it, you know, jab.
I see. No further.
Will you stay where you are, please? You boys are entitled to ask questions of the witnesses. Now, Sunday, are there any questions you'd like to ask?
Listen, why did he kick me?
Oh, come off it, mate. I was defending myself. You kicked me in the... You kicked me below the stomach, miss.
I reckon he caused it all, miss.
No, I didn't.
Boys, that's enough. At this time, you can only ask questions. You can tell us your side of the story later on. Now, Sunday, have you any more questions?
No, miss.
Mr. Newland, is there anything you'd like to ask on behalf of Sunday?
No, miss.
Herbert? No? Mr. Silk, yes.
Yes, ma'am, yeah. Did you have a programme at the match? Well, did you buy a programme?
Yeah, I did.
Then why didn't you show it to Herbert when he asked you?
Because I didn't like the way he asked.
Your Honour. Now, if you'd have shown Herbert the programme in the first place, he wouldn't have got hit. And that would have saved an awful lot of people all this trouble.
Mr. Silk, that is not a question.
No, madam, no. I'm sorry, madam. Yeah. That's all I've got to say then, madam.
You should have wrote it down, like I say.
No more questions? No? Thank you.
My next witness, Sidney Gosling.
Sidney Gosling, will you come this way, please, sir? Let's say to the witness box, sir.
Anglican. I promise before Almighty God that the evidence I shall give before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Sidney Gosling, your worship, 10 Hampson Street, Westborough, Middlesex. I was watching Brenton Park, the home club, playing Bristol, the away club, on Saturday the 17th of March.
Could you go a little slower, Mr. Gosling?
Sorry.
What's your job, please?
I'm a foreman.
Continue, please.
Well, I was watching Brenton Park, the home club, playing Bristol, the away club, on Saturday, the 17th of March, just gone past, kick-off 3 p.m. This is my regular weekly treat on a Saturday when my team are at home, and I've been doing it since I was knee-high to a snake's eye. All of a sudden, these louts, these hooligans, started creating. I'm sick to death of them. They're killing the game, your worships. I remember a time you could watch a game in peace and comfort. Don't tell me these hooligans will let you watch...
We are not telling you anything, Mr. Gosling. You are telling us. But please concentrate on the facts only.
Well, all of a sudden, in front of me, just as a penalty was being taken, these hooligans started fighting. That's them there, the 3 of them. In all these years, it was the first penalty I'll never see being taken.
Didn't matter, he missed anyway.
See what I mean, your worships? That one there belted him sitting down over there with a walking stick. Nearly hit me and all. In the fracas, my hat fell off. And that one there started jeering and calling me baldy. As my hair retreated some years ago, which is why I wear me hat all the time, your worships. Then one of them kicked me hat down a terracing. When I went to go after it, like, I tripped, fell over and sprained my wrist. By the time I'd recovered, the penalty was over and done with. Them skinheads, they'll be strung up from the goalposts after the match is over.
Yes, well, thank you, Mr. Gosling. Have you anything else to say?
No, sir.
And do you identify the boys as being David Galloway, Sunday Newland and Herbert Silk sitting here in front of you?
I do.
Right, thank you, Mr. Gosling.
Your worships, if I may. Now, did you see Sunday strike a blow?
Yeah, a few, and a kick or two.
And did you see David actually hit Mr. Brimey?
Yeah, he sort of stabbed at him on the arm and belly and that.
Now, after the police came on the scene, what happened?
Well, that one there started, what do you call it, obstructing them.
Yes, thank you. Now, stay where you are.
Mr. Gosling, how can you be sure it was my client who was taking an active part in the fight?
Who's he when he's at home?
David Galloway, there.
Oh.
In the confusion of the fight, and then having to run after your hat. Can you be sure and clear in your mind that you actually saw him touch anybody?
I'm sure, all right. Long hair and blazer, running around like Errol Flynn with a broken bit. I don't know why they flip and go to football in the first place.
No further questions.
Sunday, do you want to question this witness about anything?
No, miss. I only called him baldy because he is.
Mr. Newland, what about you?
No.
Herbert, have you any questions to ask? Mr. Silk, have you?
Yes, madam. These boys, you know, they go to the football because it's the only excitement that they get. It's the only game that they've got that we can call their own.
Only questions, Mr. Silk, only questions. I really must emphasize this. I don't want to hear anything else just now. Do you understand?
I'm sorry, madam, yeah. How far were you standing from the boys?
Beside them, 2 foot. Where I've been standing for donkey's years. And no flipping hooligan's gonna budge me.
That's all I've got to say.
You can stand down, Mr. Gosling.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Gosling. Would you take a seat at the back,
Sergeant.
I call my last witness, Police Constable Pugh.
Hold the book from your right hand and repeat those words loud.
I promise before Almighty God to tell the court the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Alan Pugh, Police Constable L6644, attached to Valley Road Police Station. I was present, your worships, at the football match in question on plainclothes duty. The game kicked off at 3 p.m. and was nearing the end of the first half. I was walking along one of the gangways when I heard shouting from my rear. I turned and saw a fight in progress. The boy I now know as Herbert Silk was holding a walking stick with part of it broken off. David Galloway was holding what I assumed was
the officer's reading from his notebook.
Oh, officer, you may of course refer to your notes, but please try and reconstruct the scene for us from memory.
Yes, madam. David Galloway was holding what I assumed was the broken part. Along with Sunday Newland, they were attacking Ronald Brimey. I intervened in order to stop the fight, but had some difficulty. I called on Sergeant Maxwell for assistance, and we arrested the boys, who were then taken to Valley Road Police Station, where we contacted their parents. All 3 boys then made statements in the presence of their parents. I've got the statements here, madam.
Have you seen these statements, Mr. Barrington?
I have no objection to them being read, Your Worship.
David Galloway, after cautioning, said, "I told you I didn't start it." After the usual caution, Herbert Silk said, "Me programme were autographed by Jimmy Givens and Sam Bugger nicked it." After the usual caution, Sandy Newland said, "I was only trying to help Herbert."
Thank you, officer. Mr. Barrington Smith.
Police Constable, did you actually see David strike Mr. Brimey?
Yes, sir.
No further question.
Officer, in reference to the charge of obstruction against Herbert, did you by any chance grab him too roughly, too eagerly, so that he tried to struggle away?
No, madam. Sergeant Maxwell was holding Herbert in a perfectly reasonable manner.
I see, thank you. Any more questions?
Yes, your ladyship. How were these boys to know that he was a policeman straight off? Oh, you come to look at him now, he's not even wearing a uniform, is he? Well, soon the force will be a force of plainclothes spies.
Mr. Silk, the police don't have to wear uniform in a juvenile court. It makes for a far more relaxed atmosphere. Now, have you any questions?
No, madam, no.
Sunday, have you any questions to ask the police officer?
No, miss.
Thank you. Sergeant Maxwell, do you want to give evidence as well?
Yes, you will.
Yeah.
I promise before Almighty God to tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Sergeant Graham Maxwell, L Division. On the 17th of March, I was at Brenton. And that is my case, Your Worship.
Thank you, Sergeant Maxwell. We find there is a case to answer.
Now, boys, it's your turn to give your side of the story, and you can do this in either of two ways. You can take an oath to promise to tell the truth, on which you may be questioned just as the prosecution witnesses were, or you may make a statement not on oath on which you cannot be questioned. Of course, if you don't want to, you needn't say anything at all.
I'll call my client first, Your Worship. David, will you come this way?
Excuse me. Hold the book in your right hand and repeat those words aloud.
I promise before Almighty God to tell the court the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you.
Now, David, tell the court your name and where you live.
David Bruce Galloway, Glengarry House, Burlington Road, Westborough Park.
And what school do you go to?
Hilton Comprehensive.
How old are you, David?
15.
Were you at a football match at Brenton Park on the 17th of March?
I was.
Do you go to football matches often, David?
Yes.
What happened at this particular football match?
Well, I was with Herbert and Sunday Newland, and Herbert yelled something about his programme being stolen. He accused the chap behind him of taking it and went to hit him one with a stick.
Tell the court what happened there.
Well, the stick broke in two and one end came flying towards my eye, so I grabbed it.
And then what happened?
Well, the chap Herbert had struck became rather aggressive and started punching us, me included, so I tried to keep him at bay with a stick.
You're saying you tried to defend yourself?
Well, he was bigger than me. I didn't start the fight. I tried to calm things down.
So, is it true, David, that at no time you initiated any aggressive act?
No, I never did.
Thank you. Stay where you are.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, do.
How comes, if you didn't have a programme at the match, you had one when you came out of the police station?
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. I saw it sticking from under your sleeve.
Lies.
No.
Were the boys searched at the station?
Their pockets were, yes.
Pockets only?
In this instance, Your Worship.
I see. Is there anything you'd like to ask Herbert or Mr. Silk? Mr. Silk?
No, I can't think of anything at the moment, Your Worship. Is there a toilet anywhere?
Yeah, of course there is.
To escort Mr. Silk to the WC.
Can't take him anywhere.
She doesn't give you much warning, you know, madam, when you get to my age.
We have some water in the court.
Herbert, in the absence of your grandfather, is there anything you want to ask David?
Yeah, miss. Did you nick me programme?
Sit down, Herbert.
Oh, Herbert, once and for all,
you
I never
figure
went anywhere near your precious programme.
Boys, stop it. Your appearance here today before this court is very serious. And the charges against you, if proved, could have very unpleasant consequences indeed. Now, do you understand that?
I'm sorry about them, and I rush special.
Mr. Silk, on behalf of Herbert, is there anything you want to ask David?
No, man, no. Although he did lead our Herbert astray, you know. A smarty pants.
Mr. Silk. Sergeant?
Yes. David, in your statement, you said you did hit Mr. Brimey, but only in self-defence.
That's right.
Yes, in a situation that was 3 against 1.
He was punching me.
No more questions.
You may sit down, David. Now, Sunday, do you wish to take the oath, that is, to promise to tell the truth? Or do you want to make a statement?
I made a statement, miss.
No, this is different.
To the policeman?
No, this is different from that one, Sunday.
I promise to tell the truth.
You promise to tell the... Yes, good.
Sunday, will you come this way?
What religion are you, Sunday?
Catholic.
Hold the book in your right hand and repeat those words aloud.
I promise before
Almighty God to tell the court the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
You tell the court your name and age.
Sunday Newland, 14.
And where do you live, Sunday?
108 Crown Road, Burton Hill.
You were at the football match, were you, on March the 17th?
Tell the court, Sunday, in your own words, exactly what happened.
Well, I was standing beside Herbert, and suddenly he says, "My programme's gone." I thought he was only messing about. So David turns round to the fella behind him and says that he's got it. So Herbert turned round and asked him to show his hands and pockets. He refused, so Herbert hit him with a stick. Me and David had to defend ourselves till the policeman come. I didn't know he was a policeman till another policeman come in uniform.
You're saying it was Herbert who struck the first blow?
Yes, sir.
And are you saying that you didn't strike anyone except in self-defence?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Have you anything else to say?
No.
I would like to tell you, ma'am, that I think that boy of mine do all the things at the football match that the man say do. I chastise him for it already, so any fine you fine him, I pay it right now, ma'am. And his auntie will chastise him in fruit tray if he does it
Will
again.
you please sit down again, Mr. Newland? You can have your chance to tell us about Sunday later on.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am, but I just wanted you to know that
Mr. Barrington Smith.
No questions, Your Worship.
Herbert, have you anything to ask Sunday? Mr. Silk, have you?
None at all, madam.
Sergeant.
Sunday, when the constable said he was a policeman, can you remember what you said?
Can't remember.
Well, you said, and I quote, "And I'm Joe Frazier with knobs on."
I was only joking.
Thank you, Your Worships. No more questions.
Good. Have you any witnesses, Sunday?
No, miss?
No. Herbert, you may sit down, Sunday.
I'll do what the others did, miss.
You'll do what the others do. Good.
Now, Herbert, now you tell them all about it.
What religion do you have?
Mum, what religion am I?
Christian? Christian?
Yes, that's...
Yes.
Hold this book in your right hand, right hand, and repeat those words aloud.
I promise before Almighty God to tell the court the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Will you tell the court your name?
Herbert Francis Silk.
And your address, please.
59 Keats House, Alpine Hill Street, Hilden.
And how old are you, Herbert?
15.
You were at the football match, were you, on March the 17th?
Yes, sir.
With David and Sunday here?
Yes, sir.
Will you tell the court, in your own words, exactly what happened?
Well, it was all rolled up and sticking out of my pocket one minute.
What was all rolled up?
My programme. The one that Jimmy Given signed for me. And I went to take it out one minute and it weren't there. I asked David and Sunday to show their hands and they never had it. David said he saw the bloke behind me take it. So I turned around and asked him and he wouldn't answer me, so I was sort of pretty short as him, like. So I sort of found myself hitting him across the head with the walking stick, miss. And then the police came on top of me and the back of my neck was all sore and squeezed, miss.
Is there anything else?
No, miss.
If I may, madam.
Yes.
Now then, Herbert, Apart from that one self-righteous swat you made with the stick, did you make any more swipes?
No, the rest are all in self-defence, because the bloke was shouting, "I'll do you," and things like that.
So why were you carrying that stick at the match?
Well, I forgot to give it back to you after I helped you up the stairs. And I sort of kept it, and to protect myself, like, in case the Bristol lot come it. Because last year, when we went down there, we gave them a right tasting.
So you really had the stick with you in order to protect yourself?
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Herbert.
Mr. Barrington Smith, do you wish to cross-examine?
Yes, sir, please, Your Worship. Herbert, did you at any time see David hitting anyone?
I don't know. I was busy at the time. But now I reckon he was a tea leaf all that time.
Tea leaf?
That's the rhyming slang for thief, Madam.
Oh. But did you see David hitting anyone?
Don't know. Not especially.
See, no further questions.
Sunday, have you anything to ask Herbert? Sunday, wake up. Have you any questions to ask this witness?
No.
Mr. Newland, what about you?
No questions to ask him.
Sergeant?
No questions, Your Worship.
Any witnesses?
No, miss.
All right, sit down, Herbert. Yes, Mr. Barrington Smith.
As everyone has agreed, this case arose out of a row. Up to the moment the stick broke, my client was standing next to Herbert Silk and had nothing in his hand. No offensive weapon of any kind. My client's version is that when Herbert used the stick, it snapped, and part of it flew towards him, and that to prevent it hitting and possibly injuring his eye, he had to catch it. For your worships to hold that this piece of stick was an offensive weapon, you'd have to be satisfied that it was used offensively, and this my client denies. Regarding the summons for causing actual bodily harm, my client denies that he actually hit anyone, but simply used the stick to defend himself. I would ask your worships to say that there is no evidence to suggest my client ever caused Mr. Brymer's injury, or that he and Herbert acted in concert. It is, of course, for your worships to decide, but in my respectful submission, your worships could not be satisfied on this evidence that there is any case to be made out against my client. I therefore ask you to dismiss both summonses.
Is there anything you'd like to say to us, Sunday? Mr. Newland?
No, ma'am. Sunday was very stupid. I told him so. I do what you say, ma'am. I pay the fine right now, and he won't do it again. I see to that.
Anything you'd like to say, Mr. Silk?
Yes, Your Ladyship. Every other Saturday, when there's a home match, you see, we both go. I've got a grandstand seat, you know, a season ticket, which means I've got to climb a lot of stairs. And that means my back and legs play me up, owing to wounds, you know, war wounds, madam. Long before you were born, I'm sure. These medals here, they signifies it. Yeah. Well, Herbert, he sees me to my seat, you see, and then he goes down with his pals to the other end of the ground. He's a good boy, you know, is Herbert, helping his old granddad. Would you? I'm 76, you know, man.
Would you try and be a little more brief, Mr. Silk?
Yes. Well, this particular day, Herbert sees me to my seat, and then he goes off with my stick, all quite by accident, of course. And I knew something was wrong when he didn't come to collect me. I was stuck there for nearly an hour.
Could you try and stick to the point, Mr. Silk?
Yes, please, Mr. Silk.
Well, begging your honour's pardon. Yeah. Well, Herbert, he collects programmes, madam. Football programmes. Oh, he's got quite a library of them, you know, at home. If you'll excuse me, Agnes, over here.
Here.
Well, look, you see here, madam, there's dozens of them, see? But the one that was stolen from him was the most precious one of all, because on his way to meet his mates, he bumps into one of the players who signs his autograph for him. Well, on the programme. And you can imagine now our tempers got lost. And that's all there is to it. So I do sincerely beg of you to bring in a verdict of complete clemency. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Silk.
You can sit down, Mr. Silk. Thank you.
The court will retire.
Court rise.
Here. Where are they all going?
Are they going to consider their decision, sir?
Ah.
Sandy, don't just let me court, lad.
Mayor, please. Thank you.
Court rise.
Boys, will you remain standing, please?
We find the summonses, all the summonses, proved. Anything known?
Yes, ma'am. David Galloway, 2 previous appearances. On the 20th of the 3rd, 72, at this court for threatening behaviour, fined £3. On the 28th of the 11th, 72, at this court for malicious damage, a supervision order for 2 years made to the Social Services Department. Sunday Newland, 2 previous. On the 10th of the 3rd, 71, at this court for malicious damage, fined £3. On the 12th December, 71, for theft, a 1-year supervision order made to the Social Services Department. Herbert Silk, 3 previous. On the 5th of the 5th, 68, for theft, a conditional discharge at Brenton Juvenile Court. On the 8th of the 1st, 71, at this court for theft, fined £3. And on November 17th, 72, at this court for theft, a supervision order for 1 year made to the Social Services Department. David Galloway's supervising officer is Mr. Walker. He is in court. He is also supervising Herbert Silk. One of our social workers, Miss Sands, knows Sunday Newlands and his family. She's also in court. I have school reports on all 3 boys.
Thank you. May we see the reports on David first, please?
Yes. All right, boys, you can sit down.
Have you had an opportunity to see these reports?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship.
Come here, David. You too, Mr. Galloway. We'd just like to go through these reports and discuss any points with you. Well, I see you're an intelligent boy, David. Good at maths and English. Excellent. Quite a sportsman, too. Some of your teachers seem less happy about your general attitude, David. What do you suppose they mean by that? Do you like school?
It's all right.
You pleased with his progress, Mr. Galloway?
Yes, according to his mother, he's doing very well indeed.
His mother couldn't be in court today, I presume.
No, she's organising a bridge party this afternoon and couldn't quite make it, I'm afraid.
I see. Well, it says here, David, that you're particularly interested in maths. Is that right?
Yes. It was over maths he got into trouble at his last school. He couldn't quite see eye to eye with one of the teachers, hence the threatening telephone calls.
I see. And what are you going to do after you finish? University?
I don't know.
Well, with a report like this, you shouldn't be getting into trouble. Now, I have here also the social workers report.
Yes,
How's he
madam.
been getting on, Mr. Galloway, since the period of supervision?
Well, very well, I think. He gets up to the usual boyish pranks, you know.
I wouldn't call setting fire to a derelict house a boyish prank, Mr. Galloway. Nor, for that matter, assaulting someone at a football match with a broken, pointed walking stick.
Please don't misunderstand me. My wife and I were very upset about all this. We just don't understand it.
Does he get on well at home with you and your wife?
We've no cause for complaints. I've forbidden him to go to football matches, but it's the only sport he seems interested in.
I see you give him very generous pocket money.
Yes, £3 a week he gets. And my wife looks after that side of things.
He's a secretive boy. Has his own room, own tape recorder, own television set.
Well, he's an only child.
Seems to have been upset by the move from Edinburgh. Lost a lot of friends. How long since the move from Edinburgh?
4 years. Oh, in Edinburgh we live in a nice, quiet area, a nice area. It's different down here. That's half the trouble, I think.
What about you, David? Do you like living in London?
Yes.
You realise, Mr. Galloway, that this business at the football match has occurred while David is still under supervision. The order has still over 6 months to run.
Yes, I realise
It's a
that.
very serious matter, Mr. Galloway. Do you understand that, David?
Yes, madam.
And how's he been behaving, Mr. Walker?
On the face of it, very well indeed, Your Worship. He always keeps his appointments. I visited the home and spoken to both his parents. His father works long hours, and his mother leads a very active social life, which leaves David alone a good deal of the time. He's reluctant to go home after school because very often there's no one in until 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. They don't come together as a family very often, and I think this could explain part of David's behaviour.
Would you agree with that, Mr. Galloway?
Well, I couldn't really say. I mean,
Do you get on well with your supervising officer, David?
Yes.
Do you think he's a bad influence on other children?
Oh, no, Your Worship. He knows these boys from school. They're in different classes, but they all play for the school football team. There's nothing malicious about David.
Is he aware, do you think, of the serious position he could be in if he continued to get into trouble?
Yes, he is. With respect, madam, I would like to keep him under supervision. I don't think he'll get into trouble again.
All right, Mr. Walker. Have you any questions you want to ask the supervising officer?
no, thank you, Your Worship.
David, have you anything to say about what's been said?
No, madam.
Very well. You may sit down. Thank you, Mr. Galloway. Mr. Ward?
Yes, Your Worship. This is the school report on Sunday Newland. Miss Sands of the Social Services Department is here. She knows the family well.
I see. Will you come here now, Sunday? You too, Mr. Newland.
I gave him a good chastising for his bad behavior. I think he'll be all right now, Ma'am. We're sorry for the trouble that he caused.
It could be that you're too hard on him, Mr. Newland.
No, Ma'am. When he's bad, I tells him so. And so does his auntie.
That's right, Mum.
If his body doesn't get his food, he knows this.
Where's his mother?
She's ill in bed, Ma'am.
Oh, I see. Well, we'll just go through Sunday school report first. Oh, this is quite a good report, Sunday. You don't play truant. Are you happy at school?
Yes, he goes to school okay, Ma'am. Has plenty of friends there.
You find some difficulty learning to read, Sunday, do you?
Yes, miss.
Does he do his homework, Mr. Newland?
When I am there, he does, Ma'am.
Oh, apparently you've got a very good singing voice.
Pardon?
Yes,
Sunday.
entertain the school sometimes.
Yes, that's very nice. You are dealing with the Newland family, are you, Miss Sands?
Yes, madam. This is the report presented in court last time.
I see. How have you been getting on?
Well, I haven't dealt with the case for long, actually. I only found out that Sunday was in trouble when I came back from leave, which is why there is no up-to-date report. I'm sorry, madam.
That's all right.
I was very surprised because while he was under supervision, he was very well behaved.
He's not on supervision now, is he?
No, not since December. He's never been an aggressive sort of boy, and causing trouble at a football match is most uncharacteristic of him. I'm sure it won't happen again.
I should jolly well hope not.
You see, there are a number of problems. His mother has been confined to bed for the last couple of months.
She got hit down by a car, Ma'am, and broke her leg.
She also suffers from chronic bronchitis.
You still work for British Railways, Mr. Newland?
Yes.
Mr. Newland works long hours, also weekends. His sister, Sunday's aunt, is usually there to look after him, but she has a part-time job on Saturday, so consequently there's no one there that day. Well, all of his previous convictions have always been on a Saturday, never during the week. Saturday is Sunday's day, so to speak.
Oh. I tried to get him a job on that day, Ma'am. His elder brother and sister, they get a job. Not him.
You see, madam, Sunday seems to be led on by bigger boys. He feels he has to prove himself.
Oh, Sunday, what nonsense. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone but yourself. And you're certainly not proving anything by being led into trouble by older boys. Do you understand that?
Yes, miss.
Do you think he needs any special help, Miss Sands?
Well, I am attached to the family, and I can see to it that they get any support they need. I really think he's going to get along fine from now on.
Yes, Ma'am, he's a good boy. At home most times now. I'll pay any fine, Ma'am. We want him home, Ma'am. And on Saturdays, I will lock him up good.
Oh, well, that's a rather drastic solution, Mr. Newland.
Madam, I did see the family doctor last week, and he said that Mrs. Newland should be up and about again in a couple of weeks. Until then, I will see to it that the family have anything they need, and that a close watch is kept on Sunday, especially on Saturdays.
Yes, I see, Miss Sam. Well, you going to behave in future, are you, Sunday?
Yes, miss.
Good.
Better.
Very well. You may sit down. Sit down, please, Mr. Newland. Now, Herbert. What have you got to say about this dreadful business, Herbert? If somebody hit you on the head with a stick, you'd be pretty fed up, wouldn't you?
Well, there was some sort of excuse for it,
There is
madam.
no excuse for taking the law into your own hands.
Me program, miss.
It's not a programme, it's something else, isn't it? What about this business of going to Bristol and giving someone a pasting down there? You know, the public are fed up with this kind of behaviour.
It won't happen again.
I wish I could be so optimistic, Mr. Silk. Have you the reports, Mr. Thorne?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Walker is the supervising officer in this case also.
I see. Well, we'll just go through these reports if you will hold on a moment.
He doesn't like school very much, madam.
But Mr. Silk, he rarely goes. He's missing half the time. Why is this, Herbert? Don't you like school?
No, miss.
Why not?
They call me a thicko, miss.
A what?
Stupid, he means, madam.
I see. Well, you're not likely to be anything else if you don't go to school, are you?
Well, he finds it very boring.
Well, he will, if he doesn't make an effort to learn anything.
Well, the only things he seems to learn at this school is yes, sir, and no, sir.
Mr. Silk, it is absolutely essential that he goes to school every single day. Otherwise, you're going to be in very, very serious trouble indeed. Do you understand that, Mother?
Oh, yes, miss. Could I sit down? I've got my veins back.
Oh, yes, please
Thank
do.
you very much.
You are Herbert's supervising officer, are you, Mr. Walker?
Yes, I am, madam. Ever since he was placed under supervision last November, in fact.
I see. Oh, well, he's a polite boy. Apart from his programmes, his main hobby is wood carving, being taught by his grandfather.
Yeah, Mr. Silk was a master carpenter,
Oh,
madam.
is that so, Mr. Silk?
Yes, madam.
Oh.
Oh, our Herbert, he made this, madam, yeah. There, that's his.
Oh, that's very nice. What is it?
It's an old bird, miss.
Oh, that's charming.
It's an old bird from the river.
Very charming.
Madam, there is one very important point, which I'm not sure whether I stressed enough in my report. But the trouble that Herbert got into last year coincided with the move that the family made from their old home to the high-rise block that they live in now. Herbert was very unhappy there at first. Facilities in the Hilden Park estate are extremely poor. Many of the boys that we come into contact with in Herbert's age range get into trouble because they're bored and restless. There are very few legitimate outlets for their energies. Also, with all the rehousing that there's been there in the last 18 months, there's a considerable overcrowding problem in the schools. Herbert is so far behind now with his schoolwork, he can't possibly hope to catch up unless he's put into a remedial class and given constant attention. But the school just don't have enough staff to cope.
Oh, dear, oh, dear. Herbert is the eldest in the family, isn't Mrs. Silk?
That's right.
And Mr. Silk, his father, isn't at home.
No. He went out for a pint of milk one morning and never come back. The only reason I married him was that we had the same name, Silk.
Madam, the family depend on Herbert a good deal because of this. It's quite a responsibility. His grandfather's great help, of course. And Herbert, as well as going to school, does a newspaper around morning and night.
But he isn't going to school, Mr. Walker. He's truanting.
Yes. Well, this problem really arose when Herbert discovered he had to stay on at school for an extra year because of the raising of the school leaving age.
Well, that's ridiculous.
There's no use arguing about it, Mr. Silk.
He had his heart set on getting a full-time job this year.
What's this about him not keeping appointments?
Well, I had arranged, in consultation with the school, that he see the school doctor and a psychiatrist, but he failed to turn up.
Why didn't you turn up, Herbert?
He thought they were trying to prove he was mad.
Mad? Well, really, Herbert, what nonsense. People go to a great deal of trouble for you, and then you waste everyone's time.
I don't think I'm a nutcase, miss.
He's all right, is Herbert, madam. I mean, he doesn't want to go to any doctor.
Mr. Silk, Herbert having to go and see the psychiatrist has nothing to do with anyone trying to prove he's mad. He has to go so that we can have up-to-date reports, and so that we can find out what best suits him and where best he should be.
He's best at home.
Yes, miss. I want to stay at home. I don't want to go anywhere else.
Yes, but we have to decide whether it's wise. And this we cannot do if you fail to turn up for your appointments. Do you understand that, Herbert? It's up to you.
Madam, I'm sure I can get him to see these people next time, and then I can give you fuller reports.
All right, Mr. Walker, thank you. You may sit down. Really, this is the third case we've had this month from that area. Do you know it?
Oh, I do. They put up swings and I think that takes care of the children. But there's nothing for boys of this age to do.
Very bad.
Really is disgraceful.
Mr. Barrington Smith, have you anything to say in mitigation?
Yes, I would ask your worships to be lenient, bearing in mind the unusual situation my client found himself in.
Mr. Burns has a fine, yes.
Adjourn for Herbert and an attendance. Fine, what's the best? Yeah, go on.
Very well.
Stand up, boys.
Now, David.
May I say something, miss?
Yes, what?
Well, I was upset about old Herb. Someone stealing his programme, so I went and got him another one. I got it signed as well. May I give it to him? Say ta, Herb. It's brand new.
Well, I'm blowed. Huh?
David Galloway. On the charge of the offensive weapon, you will be fined £8. On the charge of causing actual bodily harm, you will go to an attendance centre for 12 hours. This means that every other Saturday you'll go to an attendance centre, and if you fail to turn up, you'll be sent back to this court. At the attendance centre, you will be told what to do. This will keep you from football matches for some time, and when you can go again, perhaps you'll have learned to conduct yourself properly. The fine must be paid out of your own pocket money at the rate of £2 a week, 4 weeks to pay. And if you get into trouble again, things will be very serious indeed for you. Do you understand? Do you understand?
Yes, madam.
Very well. And don't ever let me see you in this court again. Now, Sunday, how much pocket money does he get, Mr. Newland?
50 pence a week.
50 pence a week, I see. Sunday, Newland, we are fining you £2. This fine must be paid out of your own pocket money at the rate of 25 pence a week.
I have the money right here, ma'am. I pay it right now.
Mr. Newland, it's not you who's been fined £2. It's Sunday, and he must pay it himself out of his own pocket money. Now, do you understand that? Well, Sunday, we thought of an attendance order for you too, but we're going to give you the chance of keeping yourself out of mischief. And see that you do. And don't ever let me see you here again either. Now, Herbert, because you failed to keep your appointments, we feel we can't deal with you today. We are therefore adjourning this case for 1 month.
Yes, Your Worship, that will be the 22nd of June. 10
Yes.
a.m.
Yes, thank you. In the meantime, you will go and see the doctor and the psychiatrist. Mr. Walker will arrange that for you. You will, of course, continue under supervision, and you must miss any school unless you have a medical certificate. Going to school regularly during the adjournment period is most important, Herbert. So you'll come back here in 4 weeks' time when we'll decide what to do after we've read the reports, all right?
I hate doctors, miss.
You hate doctors? Well, I'm not particularly fond of going to them myself, but when we need to, we must, mustn't we? Do you understand?
Your Honour, couldn't you decide now? The boy's very worried, you know, with all this hanging over him.
He must learn to keep appointments, Mr. Silk. He's nothing to worry about if he does.
I see, well, I can see you made up your mind.
Well, will you come this way, please?
There must be some discussion with local magistrates' officers about the lack of youth services in this area.
Yes, but they're already trying to get a youth club.
Yes. Well, let's hope some ideas will come out of the discussion.
Angela, will you stand in front? Mrs. Bennett, will you sit behind Angela, please? This is case number 12, Your Worship. Angela Bennett. Mrs. Bennett is present.
Tell the court your full name, please.